The music is playing. You know what that means. Hello, everyone. I'm Jacquis.
And I'm Kristen. Welcome to the Nightly on Hatch Plus, where we have Sleepytime tea on tap.
Ooh.
Jacquis, how are you doing tonight?
Good. I'm good. I wish Sleepytime tea worked for me. I get my sleep in other ways, but Sleepytime tea doesn't work for me. But throat coat tea works for me very well.
Oh, yeah.
So I do love me some throat coat tea.
I am in the same boat as you. I think it's because Sleepytime might be too gentle because it's really just chamomile mint tea, right?
Yeah.
Whereas throat coat, it's like licorice. It's a bunch of other really intense flavors that are thrown in there. And there's something about that says, yes, taking care of your throat and relax.
Yeah, that's great. I love it.
As much as tea helps me relax, you know what else helps me relax, Jacquis? Taking a ride in the pop culture time machine.
Let's rock and roll. Kristen, what moment in time are you dying to revisit at this very moment, right here in the Pillow Fort?
All right. Tonight, I want to revisit the moment when Fonzie jumped the shark on Happy Days. Do you know what I'm talking about, Jacquis?
Oh, yeah. That's where the term came from. Jumping the shark came from that episode of Happy Days.
Yes. So for listeners who don't know, in this historic episode of the show, Fonzie, he was the guy who would put his thumbs up and say, hey, and he wore a leather jacket. And the show was in the early 1960s, late 1950s. So Fonzie, in this particular episode, leaves Milwaukee, Wisconsin, visits Los Angeles, and while there, he gets challenged to prove his coolness. Like, is he really cool? So somehow that results in him water skiing over a shark in a cage while still wearing his signature leather jacket, paired with swim trunks. This episode originally aired in the 1970s, but was rebroadcast for decades afterward in syndication, which is where kids like me eventually watched it. And it's become shorthand, jumping the shark, for any show doing something truly ridiculous to stay relevant when the show is trending downward, when it's maybe losing viewers, or when the show is just trying to attract new advertisers. So I think about this moment a lot, and I'll go more into it about why I think about it so much in a second. But first, Jacquis, I'm curious, are there any jumping the shark moments from TV shows that you can think of that really jump out at you where you're like, oh, that was that show just going off the rails. It was jumping the shark?
There are a couple. Like, I think of a show like One Tree Hill, for instance, where even something like Meinzer, like it jumped the shark when they jumped 4 years into the future.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I blanked that out because I didn't want to remember that.
Yeah. And then, that next season was okay, but it was the beginning of the end. Like, that was the jump the shark moment when they jumped 4 years ahead. So, yeah, this is an interesting one. I'm interested to hear what are some other ones that you think jumped the shark.
I always think about toward the end of Friends, how Joey and Rachel were suddenly in love with each other. Do you remember that? I don't know if you watched Friends.
I didn't watch Friends, no.
Okay, so Rachel was always off and on with Ross, and that was kind of the central romance on the show. Will they or won't they? But at the same time, there was this other romance happening between Monica and Chandler, who eventually got married on the show. But suddenly, Rachel and Joey are now in love with each other, and it just made me think, this group needs to start dating people who don't live in the same apartment. They need to start like going out onto the street, go to a bar, go to a restaurant, join a book club, meet some other people, and stop dating within this group of 6 people. This is getting ridiculous. This is New York City. You have other options. You don't have to just date amongst yourselves here. And also, Joey and Rachel never saw each other that way. So to me, that was really a bad version of jumping the shark.
Yeah.
It was really bad. Yeah.
I mean, I never watched Friends, so, I can't speak to that in particular, but I do know, just from the zeitgeist, that Ross and Rachel were like the couple. And so
Yes.
just even hearing Joey and Rachel fell in love feels out of left field.
Yeah. It was so weird. Another one that I thought was really weird was on Roseanne. Roseanne and her family at one point win the lottery. This is toward the
Mhm.
end of the run of the show. And it's like, this was a show about working class people scraping by, living
Mhm.
their lives, not living high on the hog, not being glamorous. They don't have a bunch of expendable income. And this is a show that most of America can look at and say, oh, yeah, that's like my family. We
Yeah.
know what that's like. We know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. We know what it's like still having this dumb orange couch that we inherited from mom back in 1978 or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they win the lottery. And I'm like, come on. Now you're missing the whole point of the show. That's not what
Yeah.
the show's about.
I love the original run of Roseanne. I thought it was really, really great TV. Laurie Metcalf was fantastic.
Oh, John Goodman was so good on that
John
show.
Goodman was great. Roseanne was great. And,
Hmm.
that show was a very big show for women on the production side. Like, they had one of the few writing rooms that was like mostly women, if not all women at
Hmm.
some point, which is great. And then that season happened. Now, I will say, I didn't hate that season.
You
I
didn't?
did not hate that season because I grew up poor.
Hmm.
And I think growing up poor, watching that season was kind of like, yeah, man, like this could happen. And if it did happen, this is what it would likely be like, and
Hmm.
uh, every poor family would love to fall into money.
Of
Like,
course.
and so with that being the last season of the show, I didn't mind it as much because I was like, we get to see one season what it feels like if a working class family who usually didn't have money got it all of a sudden, because that does happen. And I think that is a very interesting look at, a lower middle class family, like what happens if this happens, right? They did, however, I think realize that people weren't loving it. And if you remember the series finale of the original run of Roseanne, they kind of retconned that season.
I don't remember because I honestly stopped watching after they won the lottery. I'm like, these are
Yeah.
not my people anymore. This is not my life anymore.
I
I
feel
can't
you.
relate to the show anymore.
I feel you. So, like that season, they won the lottery, but they stayed in the same house, and like it was still like I thought it was still a fun season. It wasn't like they were like the Banks on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Like they were still a white trash family in the suburb of an Illinois town who just happened to like come into some money, right? But the series finale of the original run basically revealed that it was all a dream. They didn't really win the lottery. Laurie Metcalf's character, Jacquis, was a lesbian the whole time. Dan passed away when he had his heart attack. He actually didn't live. And it was just Roseanne writing what she wished would have happened if she could change it
Whoa.
all, like from the point where Dan passed away, or how strong she saw Jacquis, and writing her in that way and things like that. So like it became that Roseanne just like was writing all of that in her journal and none of it was actually real. So they retconned it and made it so
Whoa.
that last season wasn't necessarily canon, if that makes any sense. It's interesting.
Oh my gosh. You kind of make me want to go back and watch it now.
I think people also probably didn't love that because they was like, well, you made this decision. You did a whole 20 plus episode season of them winning the lottery. And then in the last episode, you just made it all like not real. So some people also found problem with that.
It is a little bit of a cop out. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a cop out. It was a cop out, but it was interesting. It was interesting. I think I give it a little more leeway because it was in the final like parts of the season versus Happy Days, which like you, I also watched it in syndication. Like that jump in the shark moment happened, and they still had 6 additional seasons
Yes.
after.
Okay. So this is the weird part about it. I'm so glad you brought that up, Jacquis, because what's so weird to me about jumping the shark as we use it in the common vernacular nowadays, we say jumping the shark when a show is on its last legs and it's pulling any stunt it can to get the
Hmm.
advertisers and the audience to pay attention still. But with Happy Days, it wasn't on its last legs. It wasn't even halfway through its run. This was in season 5 that Fonzie jumps the shark. And then, as you just said, Jacquis, there's 6 more seasons after that.
Yeah.
So
and they were not
it
good.
wasn't on its last legs, and it still chose to do something that ridiculous. And I also have to point out, 2 seasons before jumping the shark, he jumped 14 garbage cans on a motorcycle. And so Fonzie, I think, was just jumping over stuff a lot.
Well, listen, when you are a 42-year-old man playing a 16-year-old, sometimes you gotta take risks, you know? You gotta take risks.
I also love that this is how you prove how cool you are. The way
Yeah.
you prove you're cool is to wear swim trunks and a leather jacket while you water ski.
It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. It's very funny.
Or you jump over garbage cans.
Yeah. The way, obviously I wasn't born in the 50s, so I don't know what it was like, but the way that, you know, the 50s are portrayed when you watch it in media is very funny, because I think a lot of the movies that portrayed the 50s were movies that were made in the 70s and 80s, which is very funny to me.
Yes.
So it's like we're watching an old interpretation of a time before, like, which is a very funny, like, way to, like, look at things now. Like, Back to the Future had the whole 50s angle,
Yes.
or, you know, Happy Days, or a lot of other TV shows and movies, like, that went into the 50s. It was very interesting how they viewed what the trends were like back in those days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and definitely through the lens of nostalgia, because these are a bunch of people in their 40s and 50s who finally made it to places in power in Hollywood. And they're like, oh, I'm going to write stories and make TV shows about back when I was young, back when I was in high school and college. I'm going to focus on that era because there was nothing like those good old days. And it's like, really? Or are you just not remembering how hard sometimes those good old days were?
Yeah.
There were parts of those good old days that weren't good at all. But
No.
maybe when you're 40, 50 years old looking back at being 18, maybe you're not remembering the tough parts.
Well, yeah, usually not. And, you know, I mean, we can write some stuff about the 90s and early 2000s and, you know, romanticize it. But it was like, yeah, it wasn't all great.
No, it wasn't all great. Some of it was tough. Yeah.
And, like, honestly, we can say that about most media, looking at the past with rose-colored glasses. But, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe you and I need to write a sitcom about that, Jacquis, just like all about the early 2000s and
We should.
how a lot of it was not lovely or cute. Some of it was not lovely and some of it was not cute.
And you know what? We will never jump the shark.
Oh, no, not at all.
We're gonna jump dolphins instead.
Exactly. Dolphins with lasers on their heads.
Yeah.
And we're going to be in monster trucks when we jump over them. Yeah.
We're going to have 4.5 seasons of just dramatic, like, beautiful television. And then we're going to have that one episode where we sing and we jump over dolphins with lasers over our head. And then we'll act like it never happened. Like it never happened.
It was just a dream. It was just a dream. Oh, Jacquis.
That would be fun. Well, this was fun. This was a good pop culture moment. Just thinking about jumping the shark in general. Yeah.
All right. Well, Jacquis, as you and I think about waking up from the dream of our sitcom storyline of season 1, I think it's time to have some dreams for real. I'm feeling tired. How about you?
I am ready to hit the hay. I'm going to dream of jumping over every animal I can. And I'm going to have myself a lovely night. So I will say to you, good night, Kristen.
Good night, Jacquis.